Hey, Joe, thanks for your time here.
Yep.
When you look at Ben Roethlisberger, what do you see, and what's the best way to slow him down?
We're still working on that, slowing them down. But I've coached against Ben a few times, probably 4 or 5 times over the last 4 or 5 years. He looks the same to me. I mean, you see him throwing the ball with accuracy down the field. You see the underneath throws. He has total command of the offense. He's hard to deal with, and we're definitely going to be at our best, man, to come away with the win.
Thanks, Jeff. Scott Petrick, you have our next question.
Hey, Joe. Greedy's been placed on IR since the last time we talked to you. But I want to ask you about Terrance Mitchell, just filling in for him. What kind of luxury is that to have a guy like that who can step in and start for you and doesn't seem to miss a beat?
Yeah, it's definitely been good for us. Early on with us being here, I was familiar with Terrence just from his time in Kansas City. I remember interviewing him down at the combine, but we really didn't know we had in him as a player within our scheme. But he's played well throughout the early part of the season. He really bounced back last week, really challenged the receivers outside and played a nice game. So it's definitely making it easier on me to make some calls with him over there or him out there.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. George Thomas, you're up.
Hey, Coach, I was just wondering, what do you see in that receiving core, and how much attention will you pay to Chase Claypool next week or this weekend, given what he did last week against Philly?
We are definitely paying attention to him, but they have some other weapons. That is one thing, playing against these guys that is tough. I mean, you look across the board, all the receivers, the backs, the tight ends. I mean, they have matchup concerns all over the field. So we're going to do a good job really executing our techniques, mixing up the coverages, but at the same time, having the ability to take away a few guys if we need to.
What did Chase show you last week? I mean, what do you see in him?
Size, speed, leaping ability, hands, everything. I mean, he really was like a coming out party for him. I know he had a big play earlier in the season against Denver when you saw his speed down the sideline, long touchdown pass. But I think he's probably a pleasant surprise, maybe not even a surprise for Pittsburgh, but he's really playing at a high level right now, and he is a handful.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Nate Ulrich, you're up.
Hey, Coach, when you had the Colts backed up, did you have a feeling Miles was going to come through?
I was hoping that. That's the one thing with him, with Miles. He's just a dynamic player. Very hard to block just because of his size, length, his athletic ability. He's just very natural in terms of bending the edge. And that's one of the plays we looked at, showed the teams rushing coverage working together. Sione did a nice job in coverage. We were in position, and we made him just really hold the ball for a second and bought time for Miles to get home.
I asked Coach Stefanski this yesterday. So I'll ask you about just with Miles playing the Steelers again for the first time since last year when, his season ended. If emotions run high, how well equipped do you think he is to handle that?
Yeah, it's, when I first got here, obviously with him coming out of that situation, we had a brief conversation. But since then, we've really just been focused on him being the best player he can for our team and our defense. I think he's grown from what's happened in the past. I think it's probably behind him right now. And I think he's just looking forward to getting out there and playing his best and getting through this game.
Tom Withers, you're up.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, Coach. So injuries have been bad on both sides of the ball for you guys. And Coach Van Pelt was just kind of saying it's become the theme of the year with backups having to step up. Is there a silver lining in that as a coach? I mean, we can all agree that injuries suck, but the fact that guys have to step up, and then not only when they do have to step up, they step up and succeed.
Yeah. Before the season started and like we were in training camp, I don't know, in my mind, I just felt like this was going to be the season where you're going to have to play everybody. So going into it, I had that mindset, and I think it's good for us from an organizational standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, that now we have the ability to evaluate a lot of the guys on our roster, to see if they can play and make decisions on those guys moving forward. So I think it's been a benefit for our entire team.
You always want your guys as tuned up as they can be going into a game with intensity. That's what it's all about. Do you have to pull them back a little bit before a game like this, though, where, as Nate mentioned before, emotions could be running high for a lot of reasons?
Yeah, you always want to try to keep the focus when you get into these rivalry games and everything else that goes in it. You always want to try to keep the focus on yourself, on what we can do defensively. I always tell them the only thing that's required is for them to do their job. When guys start trying to make plays outside of their responsibilities, that's when mistakes happen. So the biggest thing is that guys just relax, play hard, execute your responsibility, and that'll put us in position to play well.
Thanks, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Tom. Mary Kay Cabot, you're up.
Hey, Coach, I'm just wondering, in regards to Miles, it seems like, well, obviously, he's really cut down on the penalties a lot this year. He was getting, roughing calls, and he was, jumping early and those kinds of things. How much of a concerted effort have you made with him to try to get him to not do that? And also, is maybe going for the ball having an impact on the end result of some of these sacks as opposed to a flag?
Yeah, that's something that we emphasize, and I think Coach Chris Kiffin has done a great job just developing that relationship with Miles and really trying to put him in a position where he can make plays. All the things that happened to him in the past, I'm really not aware of that because it's kind of like once we got here, it's a new start for everybody. And I feel like he's really bought into the things that we're trying to teach him. I think you guys see that, on game day, just the production that he's had. So, for Miles, he's just really doing what we're asking, and we're really not talking too much about the other things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mary Kay. We'll go to Scott Petrick.
Hey, Joe, speaking of injuries, what does it look like at strong safety for you?
We're good. Again, we've Coach Howard's done a good job throughout training camp, just always rotating all the guys we have in the back end, so the guys are all familiar with the defense. We have the ability to move pieces around. With Ronnie, it's really day by day with him, but I think we may get him back. We'll see. But regardless, we'll have guys that'll be ready to step up and play.
Well, two quick things on that then. How disappointing was it to see, Ronnie get the concussion, especially after the pick six, and then Andrew's ability to step over to Strong with Sheldrick coming in and, playing free?
Yeah, I didn't even know. It was like somebody came up to me and said, he's out. And I was like, for what? Because he was standing right behind me like a minute before. And then they told me what happened. It really, I think, happened maybe a few plays before that. So, biggest concern for us is really his health and just getting him healthy. We'd love to have him on the field, but it's more important for him to be at his best. But just one of them freak things. He made a great play, and all of a sudden he's out. So we'll see what happens.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Nate Ork, you're up.
I was going to ask you about safeties too, but I'm obviously waiting to see with Ronnie. But if he's back and Sheldrick there, do those guys earn more playing time with those interceptions, huge plays in the game?
I think we have the ability to do that. If things work out, we just have to evaluate where he's at with the game plan, just in terms of executing it and his comfort level, because we don't want to put him in a situation he's not ready for. So we feel fine moving forward with Sheldrick. He showed playmaking ability as soon as we put him in the game. He was telling me, I've been here before. I was like, I know, I've been here too. But he went in and he proved it. So we feel fine with Sheldrick, if Ronnie can't make it.
We'll go to Dan Lobby next.
Hey, Coach. With Miles in the strip sacks, I know you guys drill that stuff in practice, but for some guys, does it just come more naturally? Is it just easier for some guys to do that?
Yeah, I know Mary Kay asked that earlier as well.
Oh, sorry.
But no, about the ball, I really didn't answer it. But we emphasize attacking the ball. We do drills. We keep stats on it from practice. But we do everything we can because the ball is everything. There's only one football, and we want it more than they do. That's the mindset we try to create. But I do believe some guys naturally just have the ability. Guys that can get to the quarterback. They get there and they just have that knack for trying to get the ball instead of getting a big hit. You see that across the league with some guys. But right now, Miles is doing it. We're happy he's doing it. We want him to continue to do it. So,
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan. We'll go to Scott Petrick, and this will be our last question.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, I know everybody deals with injuries, but if the Steelers are without their two big guys on that old line in the middle, DeCastro and Pouncey, what kind of a difference could that make?
I mean, we know that's two of their better players, but just anywhere across the league, it's always the next man up. So whoever they put in, I'm sure is capable of performing at a high level. We don't want to underestimate anybody just because somebody comes in like, oh, hey, now we got an advantage. But we've studied some of the guys we feel like may play, so we're ready to go. But our plan is really based on more on how we want to attack with what we're doing than actually who's in there.